Today, on Independent Wrestling Profiles, we're talking with Draven Kyuss. Can you take me back to the earliest memories you have of becoming a wrestling fan?
Oh man, yeah, definitely. So as far as my first core memories, my father and my grandfather are both huge wrestling fans. So growing up, it's one of my first memories. My first match that I remember seeing was Mick Foley and The Undertaker. It was right before the Boiler Room Brawl that they had. I can't remember what kind of match they were having. I just remember seeing Taker when he was still like purple gloves and like the tie, super intense, like super scary. And I'm like 4 years old and I am mesmerized. Like I am watching him. There's a very specific moment in the match where he's got Mankind in the corner and he's just firing off like, and I remember being 4 years old and being mind blown. I was like, this is insane. I'm so happy to be watching this right now. But yeah, that was one of my like very first memories of wrestling.
And there was no stigma in your family about a 4-year-old watching two people destroying each other in a boiler room?
No, I think it was, my father has always been very open with everything with me and has always been like, this is the difference of real life and this is wrestling, this is real life. So that was always very well explained to me.
So was it kind of like a hit the ground running moment at that point? Once you saw that, you were hooked and you were watching regularly, or at least as regularly as you were allowed to?
Yeah. So like ever since I watched that, I spent any waking moment that I could to see anything. I watched a little bit of everything. I watched TNA. I watched WWE. I watched WCW. I watched a little bit of it all. And I was so enthralled by it like so quickly, and my father had all this past knowledge of watching it for so long. He was like, oh, you like it? Well, I'll just show you everything. So I got that really early on. I'm very grateful for that.
Did you get an opportunity during your fandom as you were growing up to go to a live event of some kind, whether that be one of the big companies or even just an indie promotion, to get a feel for what it's like to be there in person?
Yeah, so funny enough, my father's friend is a pro wrestler. His pro wrestling name is Asher Benjamin. He's actually here in Ontario. And my very first interaction seeing it live was watching him. Now, growing up, I called him my uncle. So I didn't know that he was a pro wrestler at the time. And then my father was like, hey, do you want to go see it live? And I was like, of course I want to go see it live. Little did I know I was going to be going to watch Uncle Ben, which was kind of fun. But yeah, so I got to see my first local independent show in my hometown at like maybe, it might have been 4, might have been 5, I can't remember. But again, I was just mind blown. And I got to see someone that I looked up to doing it in front of me. And I was like, this is really what I want, because it looked more possible to me, knowing someone that actually did it.
Might be a little bit tougher to recall back then, but despite the fact that your dad did kind of lay out to you the difference between wrestling and reality and things like that, at such a young age, seeing someone you know do that, did you have a little bit of a difficult time? Like, what is he doing to that guy? Wait, no, that's not. Why is he doing this?
Absolutely. So it's actually quite funny. Anytime that I talk to Ben, I don't think he'll mind me saying his name. He always relays the story to me of that first time, because when I went, although I was I was so happy to be there, I was also very afraid. I was afraid of my uncle, which was quite funny. My parents were like, why are you afraid? It's just your uncle. And for whatever reason, as a young kid, seeing his wrestling moniker and versus, my Uncle Ben, it was a mind shock to me, I guess. But he always laughs because I think he said I was crying when I met him, which was very, very funny. But yeah.
Take me through a little bit of your fandom as you're growing up. Who are some of your favorites that you're really into? What are some of the matches that really resonated with you? Just What were some of the things that really stood out to you as you were kind of further developing this fandom?
So initially, like my very first person I seen was The Undertaker. So Taker was mind blowing. That's the best way I can put it. He's 6'10", 300 pounds, and can move like a cruiserweight. So that was like just pure happiness for me. Like I looked at this guy and went, this shouldn't be possible, but that was amazing. So him for sure. Shawn Michaels was the next one. I mean, I think as far as a young kid growing up in that time, if you seen Shawn Michaels on your screen, you were going to enjoy him. He's one of the best to literally ever lace a pair of boots. So Shawn, and then a little bit later on, like still in my younger years, but Jeff Hardy was a huge one for me when I was a kid, especially like as I was growing up was kind of at his peak of like popularity. So the feud between him and Punk was like everything to me as a kid. Growing up, I hated Punk so much because I was like, you're destroying my hero, which I think a lot of kids could relate to at the time. But yeah, like over the years, watching Jeff and Punk have that feud and then having the big blow off, Jeff leaves and he goes to TNA and has all the struggles and all the things that happen. But yeah, like Jeff was a huge one. And then funny enough, later on down the line, Punk became one of my favorites. But there's a few. I could talk all day.
You said that at that very early age, seeing your uncle perform, you kind of knew this was what you wanted to do. Did you kind of always carry that idea in the back of your mind as you were growing up, as you were going through different levels of development, different social life, different activities, maybe you get into sports and things like that? But did that always kind of just stay back there, that this is a world that you wanted to be a part of?
Yes. Growing up, it was always something that was larger than life. And I always said, from the very first time I watched it, I was like, this is what I need to do. As cliche as it sounds, but like there was a point in time, especially where I was into my teenage years, where it slowed down a little for me. Like I had probably between the point of like 15 and 16, I kind of fell off of it a little bit. And it was a bit of a lull in the wrestling community anyway. It was really weird booking going on and stuff on TV, and I wasn't as interested. I had always kept up. I always watched because I love it at the end of the day. But ever since that point, I had that year and a half of like I didn't really watch, and then after that, I slowly kind of getting back into it, and then I had just went to go to community college, and I was going into a business program that I really wasn't sure what I was doing. I was like, I'm going to do this because I feel like I should. I just left high school and I went to this program. I did it for a little while and I was like, I shouldn't be here. Like, I don't care about this. I don't love this. This isn't what I want to do with my life. And I came back home and I started working. I had a really good conversation with my father, who's always been the most supportive in my life, especially as far as wrestling goes, but just in general. He asked me, what would you do if money didn't matter? And I really had to think about it for a minute because I was like, I don't know. There's so many things that I would love to do, but wrestling's always been in the back of my head. And we started talking about the idea of wrestling. I think up until that point, I never really felt deep in my heart that I was like, I don't know if it's possible. Like, I know it's harder for people in Canada. There's so many variables. But yeah, we had that conversation, and then little did I know I was going to be going to wrestling school that September. So,
Okay, so what did that procedure look like? Did you just look online? Did you have a connection? Like, how did you actually go from that conversation to walking into the wrestling school?
we did a lot of looking around, trying to figure out what the best option would be. My father he really wanted me to get trained by somebody that was reputable, somebody that he was going to feel confident being like, okay, go do this and learn it the right way, which I'm very grateful that he did. But we talked to people locally a little bit. There were a few options, and I think ultimately it was just what would be best for me in the long run. So eventually I ended up speaking to Lance Storm. I sent an email in. I seen that he was posting about his classes. Funny enough, it was going to be his last class that he taught. So I sent in an email. I gave him my whole rundown, and we had a conversation on the phone. And then, then I was in.
How was the experience starting out training? Was it maybe physically demanding, the emotional weight that came with, I can't believe I'm actually doing this, challenges that you might have faced that you weren't necessarily expecting?
Plenty, plenty of challenges. So when I went to wrestling school, I think I was about 135 pounds soaking wet, and I
Okay.
was, I wasn't fully prepared for what I was stepping into. The like anybody who I talk to now who's about to get into wrestling or they have interest in it, I always tell them make sure that you love it, because there's a lot of people that think they love it. There's a lot of people that like the idea of being involved in a wrestling match, because who wouldn't? It's fun, but it's very physically demanding and it's very hard on your body. I've been doing this for 5 or 6 years now, and I am beat up. I mean, I've got a black eye as we sit here right now, but I love this. This is the thing that I've always been passionate about since I was 4 years old. So for me, stepping into the wrestling school was very eye opening, but it was also very motivating. I got there, like I said, at 135 pounds soaking wet, and I went, I'm way too small and I need to eat and I need to work very hard. And that's what I did. Learning from someone like Lance, he is very serious. It's not just a gimmick on TV, but he's also very helpful and he wants to see you succeed. The harder you work and the more you put the effort in, the more willing he is to help you. So going into that school was very eye-opening for me, but it was also very beneficial for me.
Okay. And then how did your first booking come up? Was it through the school? Did you have to wait till you got greenlit? Were you just thrown into a battle royal? Like, how did it come to be that you actually set foot in the ring post training?
So that's a fun story. So I finished training, I believe it was the beginning of December of 2019. So I finished training and I had fully planned, because I moved to Calgary to go to school. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go back home for Christmas. I'm going to see my family, see my friends, whatever. And then I'm going to figure out what the next plan of attack is. Am I going to go back to Calgary? Am I going to go somewhere else? Because I'm from Nova Scotia. So I went back home and spent the holidays with my family and friends. And then I was trying to figure out if I was going to go back or not. So there was a bit of a period in time where I was waiting. And then COVID happened very quickly after. So I had been in touch with people locally. I had trained a little bit locally. Sorry, I guess I skipped a part. Right before COVID happened, I had spoken to a couple of the guys locally, and they were like, yeah, we have a show going on at a bar show, so it'll be a really good introduction for you. Not a lot of pressure, just something to get your feet wet. So I went to this show. I was super sick. I was puking and throwing up the night before. I don't know what I had still to this day. It might have been COVID for all I know. But yeah, so I go to this show. I'm very sick. And I know that I'm going to be helping out, doing security, helping set up the ring, doing all the things that the brand new people do. And then the promoter at the time came up to me and was like, hey, do you want to have just a quick 8-minute match with Jeff? And I was like, sure, that would be great. Now, little did I know, because I wasn't expecting to get booked that day. I was expecting to go help out, and that was it. So I didn't, and this is a rookie mistake, I did not have gear with me.
Oh.
Yeah. So I had, what did I have? I had my training stuff, though. So I had a Storm Wrestling t-shirt in my gear bag, and I had Under Armour spandex that go underneath of something. That's the same thing you'd wear for basketball or something like that. So I had to wear those Under Armour long john things essentially, and a Storm Wrestling t-shirt and my shooter shoes. So for my first match, which is so funny. I look ridiculous. It's on YouTube somewhere. It's very funny to watch back. But yeah, so I had to do my first match like that. The match went fine, but I have this match in the beginning of March of 2020, and then the world shut down.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. When it comes to first matches, that's got to be a lot of pressure just in and of itself. But on top of that, you're sick. You're not prepared with gear or anything like that. Did you have any sort of thoughts when it was going on or even after? how did I get through that? How did I do? Did you get feedback? Like, I can't imagine that that's easy in any regard. But with all of that against you, how did that actually go?
I will say this. I was walked through a match and I did my best for what I had done. It was it wasn't pretty. No one's first match is, to me at least. But I got through it. I had spoken to all the people backstage. They gave me feedback, things that I could work on, things that I could do. Show up with gear, which is always funny. But yeah, all in all, it was a good experience for me because I had a very forgiving crowd. Doing a 19 plus show, people are already there having fun anyway. They're already a little bit easier on you than, say, like a really true smart crowd. It was a good experience. I will say, like, that was the first time in a few months since I had left training that I had done a full match, though. So I wasn't fully prepared for that at the time, which was quite funny, but I got through it nonetheless.
You have your first match. Now COVID hits.
Mm.
How do you keep the momentum going? How do you keep motivated? I mean, I have to imagine that there's even a level of it that's just disheartening. Like, oh man, is this
Absolutely.
ever going to end? I've only gotten to have one match. What's going to happen on the other side of this? Like, what do you do during that time?
That's a great question. So during that first bit where we're all locked down, I think everybody had a moment of, oh my God, what are we going to do? For me, like, I had just got my feet wet and I was so excited. I just wanted to keep learning. I wanted to learn more. So that little bit of happiness taken away is a hard thing to take in. But I think for me especially, it was okay. I had one match. I know what it feels like now. Now I want it more than ever. What can I do to prepare myself for when the time comes when I can do it again? And I was very lucky in the sense of, like, we had the lockdown for the few months. We couldn't really do anything. But then when things started to open up, we got to have bubbles of training. So that was really nice. Covey Christ was the person that really helped me back home. He runs Kaizen Academy. So when I left wrestling school, as I think a lot of people are, I don't think that you know everything yet. You definitely don't know everything yet. And you need more reps in the ring and you need to learn more. And Covey was the person that molded me into the person I am today. But when we got to open back up, I got to go train with him and all of his students. And so that helped me a lot. But also in that point where I couldn't do anything, it was watch as much wrestling as you possibly can, soak it all in, and really just study as much as you can. Because there's definitely a difference of, like, I'm watching something that I've seen 100 times and I love it versus I'm going to watch something and dissect this and how can I make this my own, or how can I learn from this?
Even growing up, I'm sure you probably had fantasies of being a wrestler. And when you're training, you have probably ideas of this is what I want to do, this is who I want to be. At what point in that process did you start to kind of mold the idea of how you wanted to present yourself in a ring? Not just from like a move standpoint and a match standpoint, but interacting with the crowd, the persona that you put forward, the attitude that you bring to it. Did you have an idea of what you wanted to do, and how close to reality did that end up becoming?
Initially, I had no idea. I had no clue what I was going to present myself as. I kind of went into it with the mindset of, like, of any sport. I was like, I need to get to a level that is good enough first before I start worrying about the character, the persona, all that stuff. So especially my first year, probably my second year as well, was very much just like become a better wrestler and become comfortable in the ring. Once I got to the point of where I was able to figure something out, I don't necessarily think I was thinking, am I going to be a good guy? Am I going to be a bad guy? I just wanted to figure out what was going to be most comfortable for me, because finding comfortability in the wrestling ring is the most important thing. Like, it's so daunting in itself anyway, like, especially when you're new, because you've never felt anything like it before. And there's nothing that compares to it. And it's funny when people meet me, like I'm pretty quiet when I first meet people, but once I open up, they're like, "Oh, you're pretty talkative and you're a nice person or whatever." But my character for the first couple years was just completely rude, mean, arrogant, and over the top. Um, so when people meet me, sometimes they're like, "You're not an ass." That's great. I'm like, "Yeah, thank you." But yeah.
Oh, but I mean, it's fun to be a different person sometimes. Like you get to live a different lifestyle for a little bit. So you trained in Alberta. You did a little bit more training in Nova Scotia. Now you're in Ontario. So you've had a few stops along the way. Can you take me through some of the highlights of your career thus far? Matches you've had, shows that you've been on, even just an opportunity like a chance meeting with somebody that you never would have expected that wouldn't have happened if you weren't involved in the wrestling world. What are some of the highlights that you think back on when you think of your career thus far?
For sure. There's been so many experiences that I've had that I'm so grateful for that I never would have gotten unless I was involved in this. I've met so many stars in wrestling. I'm trained by one. Like, I've met so many people I grew up idolizing. Last week, I got to see Matt Hardy in person for the first time, which was mind blowing to me because I was a huge Hardy Boys fan growing up. I've had a lot of really beneficial moments of my career from people that I've been able to learn from. Some of the highlight moments for me, honestly, moving here was a big one for me because I get to learn from people that I idolized as a wrestler. Gabriel Fuerza is one of my favorite independent pro wrestlers on the planet, and I now get to train with the guy. He's stupidly talented, and he just is. I can't wait to get a chance to share a ring with him someday. As far as like achievements and stuff go, like I'm just really proud of the fact that I've been able to do this for 5 years, and I'm still here, and I'm still working hard towards all of the goals that I have. There's a few things that I've gotten the chance to do recently that I'm not going to share yet
Okay.
because I don't want to blow it out of the water yet. But I guess I'm bad at looking back at the things like this. But I'm really proud of just being able to say that I've been doing this for 5 years. It's not easy, and wrestling is a privilege at the end of the day. Wrestling doesn't owe us anything. Any wrestler that's out there, it doesn't owe us anything. So the fact that people want me on their shows and that I'm able to give fans something to go home happy with, I mean, that's the biggest blessing for me.
So let's reel that question back in a little bit and just refocus it to specifically what are some of just like your favorite matches that you've been involved in?
Okay. Well, I definitely would say Covey Christ, we had a championship match for the Kaizen Pro Wrestling title. That was my first, I think it was my first heavyweight championship match that I ever had, and it was against a guy who I respect a lot. It was a lot of fun. I got to work against my coach, who I really respect, and also knew he would push me. He would push me past the limits for me. So that one was a lot of fun. I also, actually recently, I just wrestled Andrew Love again for I think it's the third time. We've wrestled in 3 different provinces. So we've wrestled in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, and Ontario.
Wow.
He's one of my favorite people to work with. The very first time that we worked together, we tagged together, and we were called the Maritime Rockers, which is super embarrassingly funny. But yeah, Andrew is also very talented and somebody that also really pushes me. When we're in there, sometimes it's really easy to be safe, quote unquote, and just like not push your limits. But when you're in there with somebody else that you know can go and you can trust, that's really beneficial. So definitely him. And there was one other one that I had a few years earlier against a guy named James Ryder, who is one of my favorite people on the earth. He works for Kaizen. And we had like a street fight in his hometown. So a quick little story. He and I have wrestled, I don't know, 10 times probably. And one of those times he broke my nose in the match.
Oh.
And it was it was complete accident. It was so funny because we literally just started the match. We locked up together and he broke my nose.
Wow.
So he's a fair bit taller than I am, and he tried to compensate for my height difference and went down, and I looked up, and it just clacked.
Oh, yeah.
So it was very funny, but him and I get along very, very well. But during this street fight, he was like, all right, well, he was kind of expecting me to give it back to him, but I love the guy, and we had a lot of fun, I guess. It was in front of a whole bunch of people from his hometown. It was just a lot of fun at the end of the day.
It's phenomenal that one of your favorite matches that was so much fun involved breaking your nose almost immediately. And I can't imagine any level of training would prepare you for, what do I do now? Oh, right. The entire match from this point on. That's fantastic.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
So what's on the bucket list for you next? What are some of the companies you'd like to work for? Some opponents that you'd like to still square up with? Like, we're not talking long-term end game here. Just like, what's some of the things you'd like to cross off the list in the near future?
Near future for sure. Well, Gabriel Fuerza is definitely number one. I think as far as independent wrestlers go, like especially here in Ontario, Fuerza's at the top. So definitely him. Also Von Vertigo, they're both so talented. And I've been watching these guys especially in the last few years. Fuerza came to Kaizen. I'm not 100% sure if Vaughn did or not. But I've been watching their work for so long, and I've just wanted the opportunity to work with somebody like them to prove myself. As far as companies go, I'm happy to work anywhere, but I think Smash Wrestling's a big one that I'd like to be a part of, and Northern Crown. Those are kind of the two tippy top ones for me. But yeah, if I could pick two opponents, it would be Fuerza and Vaughn.
And just to further that a little bit, how about the ultimate dream opponent? It doesn't have to be indie. It doesn't have to be justified. Just if you could wrestle anybody that comes up in your mind tomorrow, who would it be?
There's so many variables to it. Like, the kid in me always will say Jeff Hardy because I just looked up to him so much as a kid. Now, I would happily wrestle Jeff anytime, but if I had another one, like AJ Styles is like the mountaintop for me because he's phenomenal, no pun intended. But yeah, I guess those two would be like the tippy top. There's a lot of people in TNA that I would like to wrestle. Leon Slater is exceptional in the ring. Like, that guy, watching him do the Swanton 450 the first time, I was like, this guy is a different breed. But yeah, there's so many, man. I could name a list off for an hour.
Okay, so just kind of evaluating what you've provided so far. Gabriel Fuerza, Vaughn Vertigo, Jeff Hardy, Leon Slater. We're talking smaller wrestlers, relatively speaking, that are a lot more high flyer finesse. Do you enjoy the versatility of doing something else, or is that something that you want to specialize in?
So I'm open to work with anybody, by any size, it doesn't matter. I've actually had some of my best matches with bigger guys. Bobby Boyette is one from back home. Like, him and I, anytime we step in the ring together, I'm happy. Bobby is exceptional at what he does. But yeah, as far as I'm just under 6 foot tall. I'm not huge. So I know that wherever I go, I'm going to be somewhere in the middle of size. Being able to work within that division, I grew up watching the X Division, and I wanted that so much. So that's something that I've always wanted to be good at. Yeah, Vaughn, Fuerza, Jeff, all those guys are relatively in that size point. So I guess specializing in it would be the best for me.
So take us out of the ring for a little bit. You have some time away. You need to recharge the batteries. What sort of activities or hobbies do you participate in?
So I have a few. So for one, I've loved basketball my whole life. I've been playing since I was about 4 years old. So basketball is a good way for me to just shut my brain off, and I can just go shoot around and enjoy myself. I've also been BMX biking for 15 years now or something. Another thing for me that is just shut my brain off, and just go enjoy myself. And the gym. The gym is another thing for me that is just like, it benefits me in the ring and out of the ring. And it's also a really good way for me to just kind of relax, put my headphones in, and just.
So I can definitely understand. I mean, I'm a big basketball guy. My ears perk up anytime I hear somebody say that. But it also leads me to ask the same question that I ask anybody who mentions basketball. I'm sure you're familiar with the old WCW days where Karl Malone and Dennis Rodman got involved. So I like to ask people to set up a make-believe match, tag team. You are on one side with a current NBA player, and on the other side is another wrestler and another NBA player. Book this match for me.
Oh, man. Okay. Does it have to be current people? Because there's...
No. No. I mean, like, I guarantee you that even though he's not currently playing, Shaquille O'Neal would get in the ring for something regardless. So it can be a personality. It can be a legend. I mean... Okay. Hopefully, let's go with somebody still, with us. But it doesn't have to be active players.
Okay. So I would probably, if it's a tag match, I would love for me and Derrick Rose against Kyle Lowry, and we'll just put Shaq in there because I can't think about it.
Well, I figured that they would be teamed up with a wrestler because they kind of have to carry them through the match, right? That's what they did with Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone.
That's a good point. Now, to be fair, Shaq has technically had a match.
He has.
Yeah.
I know I mentioned this when I spoke to Jax Williams because he's also a big fan. And I said, for me, the two NBA players would be Rudy Gobert and Draymond Green because they're already throwing chokeholds on each other on the court. But hey, everybody has a different opinion. I just like to ask that question when it comes to basketball. All right, back into the wrestling world, though. All right, you're packing up for a road trip. You got some travel companions. Who are you putting in the car with you?
Ooh, okay. First things first, if I need a little bit of comedic relief, Charlie Hubley.
Oh, he's so good.
So funny. Have you talked to him before?
I've only seen him perform, but his personality is so larger than life. You could just feel it in his promos that he is an entertaining dude.
He is in general. So Charlie and I actually grew up together. We're from the same town, and we went to the same wrestling school. Charlie's a great guy, and he's one of my favorite people to wrestle as well. But yeah, so Charlie is my comedic relief. Abby Muse, because she is quite literally the person that keeps the group together, keeps it on track. When you put a full car load of wrestlers into a car, it can get a little chaotic at times. Probably Bobby as well, Bobby Boyette. Bobby is he's a bit of comedic relief, but he's also another guy who will keep things on track, but he'll always give you a good laugh. So Bobby, how many is that? That's 3, me is 4, so we need one more. You know what? Actually, I will say Jake O'Reilly, who's from here, is hilarious. Riding with Jake O'Reilly has probably been one of the most eye-opening experiences for me. The guy is just unbelievably funny, so Jake O'Reilly.
All right, and who's controlling the radio?
Ooh, if I get the choice, me. But if I'm being honest, with a car full like that, it's probably going to be Jake who's going to be controlling it.
I should point out that you mentioned Abby, but when I spoke to Abby, I asked her what wrestler deserves his comeuppance and, in a match should get put through a table or have a move put on them. And she did mention you. I don't want to start anything, but I'm going to mention that she said that.
Yeah, Abby and I have had our differences for sure. No, in all seriousness, she's... I don't know how much she wants me to say. I don't really think she cares, to be perfectly honest. Abby is my rock. She keeps me grounded. This wouldn't be possible. I wouldn't be able to be in Ontario without Abby. So this was very much a team effort. I love the kid. She's great.
Just want to ask you the final question that I ask everybody, and you kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier as well, but it comes down to advice. If you could speak to a younger version of yourself who was just starting out in training or on the fence about getting into the training, what piece of advice would you give yourself that could also convey to somebody else who might be on the fence themselves right now?
Honestly, I think the first thing that I would tell myself initially is be patient. patience in wrestling is so, so important. It's very easy to get into a ring for the very first time and you'd be like, I want a moonsault. But when you get in there, you have to learn how to be safe and you have to be able to take care of the people that you're working with, because at the end of the day, we're giving our lives into your hands. Wrestling is, like I said in the beginning, wrestling is a privilege and we can't take that for granted. When we step in there, we could get hurt at any time. So patience is key as far as getting into wrestling.
Wonderful. So before we sign out, can I just get you to let everybody know once again who you are and maybe where they can follow you on social media if they want to keep up to date with what you've got coming up?
For sure. So I am Draven Kyuss. My Instagram is Draven Kyuss Wrestling. Same as TikTok, and Facebook is Draven Kyuss as well. It's just Draven Kyuss. And Twitter is Draven Kyuss, but I don't even use it, so don't bother. I think that's all I really need to say. I don't need to plug a bunch of stuff.
No problem. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I would like to say that before we sign out, actually. Thank you for giving me the time, because I think this is really important for independent wrestlers. We all see the CVVs of the world or the Sam Roberts of the world who do these big time interviews, and it's great, but they're always on the topic of large stars, which totally understand. But it's really nice for independent wrestlers to be able to get a voice, and it's people like you that make that possible. So thank you.
Aw, you're going to make me blush. Thank you for tuning in to Independent Wrestling Profiles. Please help out the show if you can with a like, subscription, or review. We'll see you next time.